Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on refugees, migrants, and peace. My name is Jean Beil. I'm the regional coordinator for Caritas North America. For those who don't know, Caritas North America is composed of Catholic Charities USA, Catholic Relief Services, and in Canada, Development and Peace, also known as Caritas Canada. So in this session today, we're going to talk about how conflict and climate change are causing large-scale movements and forced displacement of people. And most of our presentations will be done by Caritas staff in various places around the world. And we have a wonderful introduction to sort of ground us in the theology of all this by Father David Hollenbach to start off. Father David's a Jesuit, the Pedro Arrupe Professor at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. His teaching and research deal with human rights, religious and ethical responses to the humanitarian crisis, and religion and political life from the standpoint of Catholic social thought. His most recent book is Humanity in Crisis: Ethical and Religious Response to Refugees. He's taught often at Hekima University in Nairobi, Kenya, and he collaborates with the Jesuit Refugee Services. So, Father David.
Thank you very much, Jean. It's a pleasure to be with you. I would like to begin my comments just by noting that there's a small town in northwestern Kenya called Kakuma, and it is the host to a refugee camp where there are about today almost 200,000 refugees located there. Men and women and children who have been fleeing conflicts in South Sudan, in Somalia, in Ethiopia, Democratic Republic of Congo, and elsewhere in Africa. And these 200,000 people at Kakuma refugee camp are but a fraction of the 100 million displaced people in the world today, a number that the High Commissioner of Refugees just recently called seemingly unimaginable as an all-time high for the number of forcibly displaced people in the world. Some time ago, I had the opportunity to visit the Kakuma refugee camp and to participate in a workshop conducted there by the Jesuit Refugee Service. So I'd like to tell you a few things about some things that I learned from the displaced people at Kakuma about the realities of war and peace building today. First, the sufferings of displaced people are among the greatest and most serious evils caused by war today. The people at Kakuma refugee camp have virtually nothing. War is the main source of their problems because it has been the source of their displacement. Permanent peace is absolutely essential to overcoming the problems they face, such as the loss of their home, the separation of their families, violence to their women, stunted education for their children, and most radically, the loss of hope among many of them, because many of them have been in that camp for over 15 years. Tragic. The conditions faced by the people at the Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya show us the genuine evil of war. Second thing that I learned from them is that the judgments about the morality of war today must pay much closer attention to the harms done to displaced people than has been common in the past. Very frequently, our assessment of the ethics of warfare is judged in terms of the number of people who have been killed or wounded. And this is surely important. But if we focus only on those casualties in that sense, it can overlook the harms to those who survive as refugees and forcibly displaced people. If we pay attention to the suffering of the displaced in our world, it will teach us in a new way to see the immorality and violence caused by war. It would lead us to see forced migration as a fundamental challenge against the use of military force. Third, the hopes of refugees for peace is stronger, in my view, than the contemporary sources of conflict, if we could only tap into that hope. By paying attention not only to the suffering of the displaced, but also sharing their hope, faith communities can become more effective agents for peace in our world today. Most of the people at the Kakuma refugee camp are religious believers, mostly Christian, also very large numbers of Muslims. The Muslims from Somalia, the Christians from South Sudan, and both from other countries as well. These people know that the God of any religion that causes war is not a God worthy of worship. They know that the true God wants peace. The true God wants believers to make peace. They have much to teach us, therefore, about both peace and about God. Refugees longing for peace can show and teach faith communities, governments, rebel groups, and the international community as a whole that peace is a value we must work for, that it is achievable if we put our creative efforts into it. So I would like to begin our conversation by saying that if we borrow some of the hope and the courage of the people at the Kakuma refugee camp, and the hope and the courage of the 100 million people around the world who have been displaced, we will know that our world needs peace in a much more fundamental way than we would if we don't listen to the displaced. The displaced, therefore, have a lot to teach us about the evil of war and about the need for peace. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Father, for that, putting us in contact with those who have been displaced by conflict and helping us get in touch with what they're feeling and how they are thinking about how war is one of the greatest evils in so far as it has affected their lives. I'm wondering if Aloysius from Caritas Internationalis has joined us.
Yes, Jean, good afternoon. I'm here.
Wonderful. Then let me introduce you. Aloysius John is from Tamil Nadu, India. He has been the Secretary General of Caritas Internationalis since 2019. He joined Caritas Internationalis in 2013 as the Director for Institutional Development and Capacity Strengthening. And prior to Caritas Internationalis, he served as Coordinator for International Development and was the Asia, Oceania, and Middle East and North Africa Department Head for Caritas France. In 2004, he coordinated the tsunami operations in Sri Lanka, India, and Indonesia for Secours Catholique and Caritas Internationalis. Thanks for joining us, Aloysius. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jean. Good afternoon to everybody. Good morning and good evening. Excellencies, dear participants, first of all, I would like to thank the Catholic Peacebuilding Network for organizing this timely high-level conference on Catholic peacebuilding, most needed in this time of deep humanitarian crisis, which affects many countries. One of the characteristics of a modern day's complex humanitarian crisis is large-scale forced human mobility. There are many drivers to this phenomena, and today, these crises are complex and are compound in nature. Based on the worldwide experience of Caritas, we observe conflict and climate change are key drivers to forced migration because they impinge on the vital food needs of the poorest. In my presentation, I will focus on the structured drivers of contemporary mass displacement, which are interconnected and mutually influence each other. That is climate change, food insecurity, and conflicts. Anthropogenic climate change influences and affects the way people live and change their lifestyles. One of the significant results of the effects of climate change is recurrent drought, rise in sea level, and tornadoes and hurricanes. These extreme environments often make people, especially the poorest, highly vulnerable and affect their resilience capacities. Climate change exacerbates social vulnerability, and in turn contributes to displacement, and we see a relationship between socio-economical vulnerable populations and displaced population. Last month, I was in Morocco, in the region of Oujda, and they in a Caritas center which receives migrants from Sub-Sahara. A Guinean of 35 years told me, 14 months back, we left our village because we could not cultivate our food, our land, and went into the city in search of livelihood. I could not find any job, and finally, life became very difficult for us. My family borrowed money from friends and relatives, and I traveled to Europe, and now I'm in the center not knowing what to do. This is the plight of thousands of people who are obliged to leave their homes due to impossibility to carry out their traditional activities. In some cases, as in Syria, where extreme environments compound with violent conflicts, the local population leaves its traditional hometowns in search of safe places and find themselves in precarious and highly vulnerable situations. In March, during a seminar on the work of charity in which I participated, conducted by Caritas Syria, they brought to evidence, based on their experience, how growing water scarcity and frequent droughts coupled with poor water management led to multi-year crop failure, economic deterioration resulting in mass migration of rural families to urban areas, and in a situation of protracted crisis, the populations are obliged to find refuge elsewhere. The war in Ukraine has brought to evidence how conflicts contribute to food scarcity and ultimately food crisis, which now we realize is affecting our global village. This is also evident in many parts of Africa, like in South Sudan, Republic of Central Africa, and in Myanmar. The protracted crisis do not allow the food production, local food production, and this leads to food insecurity, and ultimately people leave their homes to look for other alternative solutions to eco-living. Today in Sri Lanka, we are witnessing how climate change, internal conflicts, and failed politics by corrupted leaders has led to food scarcity and food insecurity. And in the Middle East and Africa, climate change-induced conflicts are a major driver of the surge of migrants to Europe. Climate conflict migration are drivers that interact with each other as determinants of forced migration, because they are often compounded with food insecurity and economic recovery, leading to high vulnerability. As a conclusion, I would like to refer to Laudato Si, wherein Pope Francis indicates that environment, economy, and social ecology are interrelated. Peace and harmony can be achieved only if there is an ecology of daily life, which in turn puts the human person and the environment at the center of all our activities, with the determined political will to promote integral human development in the spirit of integral ecology. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. John, especially for your unique perspective on forced migration because of your experience and your position, and for highlighting the plight of climate change migrants for us going forward. Our next few speakers will be employees, workers in Caritas in various places around the world. The first one of which will be Gabriel Daw. Gaby is an advocacy officer with Caritas Jordan, where he started working in 2003. In addition to Caritas Jordan, he has a long experience working with UNHCR and international NGOs in Jordan in the field of protection and resources mobilization. So, Gaby, please join us to do your presentation. Gaby, we're not hearing you, so hold on a second. Let's see if we can improve the audio. Make sure your microphone is close to your mouth and give it another try now. We're going to come back to you, Gaby, see if we can fix the audio for that. I'm wondering if we can move now to Ganna, Skytova. Ganna Skytova is the head of operations at Caritas Spes in Ukraine, with a PhD in economics. As a facilitator and mediator, Ganna has been involved in peace-building activities and projects supported by the UN, USAID in Ukraine in 2015 and to 2020. Also in Cyprus and Lithuania from 2018 to 2019, and Georgia in 2008. Ganna, if you could join us, please. Wonderful. And take it away.
Thank you so much, and my congratulations, ladies and gentlemen and excellencies. And I have the honor to represent Caritas Spes Ukraine today, and would like to share some figures, stories, and actions that we are trying to build peace in Ukraine. And you see, war is not only destroyed houses, but also destinies and stories. And our church charitable organization, which is Caritas Spes, is called to help beyond the material to the spiritual as well. Our mission is to cherish merciful love and to hope in actions. And our vision is to build a civilization of love, justice, and peace that will overcome poverty, establish justice, and restore the dignity of every person in all regions of Ukraine. And the main sources that inspire and guide Caritas Spes Ukraine include the social doctrine of the Catholic Church, the teaching of the Gospel and the Church, and of course current legislation. Our mission's day-to-day work is based on three principles: respect for the human person, solidarity, and subsidiarity. And I would like to share the presentation of mine that we have for our organization. Maybe I couldn't share it, but we will send it after my speech. And we have some figures about our activities and about our work.
Ganna, give it another try. It showed up for a second there. We were able to see it, but you need to start from the beginning.
Okay, I will try from the beginning to share the presentation. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Here it is. Can you?
We can see it.
Hurrah. Thank you so much. And I would like you to give some figures and some news and give some story we had from the beginning of the war. And you see, the day before the war began in Ukraine, we had a facilitation session with our directors of dioceses and the managers from the local centers, and we tried to develop our emergency plan. But in even the most pessimistic scenario of our emergency plan, we could not forecast such a huge beginning of the war. And we are very grateful for all our big friends and our partners who supported us from the first hours of the war. And we, even from the first days of the war, we started to have a lot of support from all our donors. And you can see that day to day, many days, we have proposals how we can help with people, with humanitarian aid, with support from different organizations. And it was from different countries and different continents, and we tried to develop all this support and to help our people, our IDPs, and people who suffer in occupied territories. And what we started to work is how we started to work. We started igniting such. You see business things that we had no experience before the war. Like we organized a very huge logistics system and procurement system, how to buy food and how to develop and in our centers and the churches, all our people tried to help our refugees and to provide some activities, even professional driving and working in warehouses to manage all these processes. And this story of the war, it was not, and peace building, it was not about just refugees and people in our country, but about ourselves. As well, because we had to evacuate our families. We had to evacuate our family type orphanages and homes for single mothers with children. And we tried to evacuate our workers who were in the territories under occupation or very close to the war activities. And it was the decision of the relocation of the national office of Caritas Spes to the Carpathians. Now it is okay, Kiev is deoccupied and we have the possibility to come back and to work in our office. And we spread, it was very, I think, very clever decision from the CEO of our organization is to make some people abroad and to make logistics system in Poland and in the countries that are very close to the borders, and we can, in this case, we can organize a very nice and very speed system of pipeline of humanitarian aid to Ukraine. And of course, we have the very huge support of Caritas Internationalis and the CRS and the other organization to the CEO of our organization, Father Vyacheslav Grinevich, and we try our best to organize all these activities. And as you can see, even the third week of the war, we had like two big logistic hub in Lviv and Mukachevo. Lviv, it's next to the Poland border, and Mukachevo, it's next to the Slovenia and Slovakia. And these hubs have become doors of humanitarian aid in Ukraine. And more than 240 humanitarian goods aid were imported from logistics center to Lviv and Mukachevo, and now we have even more figures of this humanitarian aid. It's a big tragedy, you know, because almost 6,000 of people were killed, according to the official data, were killed in Ukraine. And this is just on those territories which are under control of Ukraine. But we know that huge territories of the Kherson, Donetsk, Luhansk regions are still occupied, and we know that a lot of people's deaths are on these territories, but they are not in official statistics, unfortunately. Some more pictures. Now we have this developed logistic routes through all the territory of Ukraine, and in these routes we are trying to organize not the peace life, but as much comfortable and as much nice live for our people, for our displaced people and refugees in Ukraine. And you know that behind each of these figures, we have a personal tragedy. And I would like you to say one story of one of our refugees. Her name is Olga. And Olga was escaped from Kherson region. She comes from a small village in Kherson near the border with the Crimea. And what is interesting, she gave birth to her daughter 3 weeks before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by Russian troops. Her parents brought the woman and her baby to Caritas Spes pilgrimage center. And on February 24, their village was already occupied. The first day of the war, their village was occupied by Russian troops, and they didn't allow any evacuation. And she ran with her baby to the basement, and she had to pour water into a small glass and heat it over a candle to make baby food. And only after 2 months of occupation, she could leave this place at her own risk. She drove past Chernobyevka, you know this place maybe from news and from TV, and this Chernobyevka was hit for the 16th time. And they passed through the first Russian checkpoint rather easily because she was a woman with a small baby. But when they got the next checkpoint, it was very awful situation, and they almost turned the whole car over. And she said we felt very close to our death. Telling her story, when I spoke to her with our pilgrimage center, Olga gently loves her daughter. She is a young mother. She said that the Lord loves her baby, allowing her to be born 3 weeks before the war, although the birth was scheduled for the February 24, the first day of the war. And she said, I watched a video from the hospital where my daughter was born. All the births take place in the basement because the surrounding area has been regularly bombed since the beginning of the war. And Olga is very grateful to all the people who could help her and to support her. And she said that the most important thing for her that now she is in a safe place. Her child is not hungry, and she understands that that is a great advantage, is understanding that God loves us and helps us, and also gives us many chances to help to other people. And we just need to grab these changes and use them for helping to other people. And some more figures I would like you to show again. And it's about figures we have from our official bulletins and books, and some pictures from our shelters. There is one of the shelter in Kharkiv, and you can see that people live here, and still now Kharkiv is regularly bombed, but people live there and they try to make their routines and have their regular life. They go to Mesa and they try to manage their own lives. We even have some very nice events in our shelters. For example, on April 7, we have a newborn Solomika baby girl, and it was the first baby that we have in our shelter from the beginning of the war, and we can say that it's good that a baby came into this world when it became quieter in our region. It was when the Kiev was occupied. Then we have some other situation. You can see the destroyed cities. It's in Kiev region, and you can see these pictures are from our Caritas car that we helped people to evacuate and to give and to have some humanitarian aid. And this seventh week of the war, we can see that the number of employees involved in our project has increased 5 times. I would like to say that it was very important for us that firstly, before the war, we have like 100 volunteers who helped us to work with homeless people, with children, and now we have 3,500 people who like to serve the people, who like to help people, and who like to be as volunteers in our pilgrimage and centers and in our shelters. And we try to organize this life for children, for mothers, and for other people. And now you can see like some words of support. It's a real texting messages from SMS, from some WhatsApp and other sources. You can see that sometimes we are even our staff were in shelters and under the bomb, and our financial director, she stayed in Kiev and tried to help old people who cannot leave their homes and cannot buy even some food. And then I would like to quote the words of our executive director, Father Vyacheslav Grinevich. He said that the war will only end when we are able to forgive all those terrible things we've witnessed. When we rebuild not only our homes, but also restore our souls and memories. The Pope Francis said that this was the kind of service we was always talking about, and we try to serve people and to find some understanding of people during these difficult times. Some more figures, you can see that we have possibility to make housing and shelters for our people, to bring them food and to provide them help in different from different clusters and from different other directions. And now we can see that we have a big support from different partners. But unfortunately, each day we know that hundreds of people are dying, and unfortunately, the amount of people who need help is still growing, but the number of humanitarian aid is declined, and even 5 times less than from the first times of the war. So we are very grateful for all people who support us and help us in our humanitarian activities and helping people. Thank you so much for this support, and thank you for possibility to present and demonstrate some of this activity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ganna. Thank you for showing us the human face of this conflict and for reminding us the courage of Caritas workers, not only in Ukraine, but around the world, who are involved in helping people who are affected by these conflicts and by climate change. You know that you have our prayers, as do the other Caritas workers around the world who are in these similar situations. For those of you who are viewing, little commercial, if you haven't already made a contribution to Caritas Ukraine, you can do so through Catholic Relief Services. Access their donation on their webpage. Thank you. And now we'd like to move on. See if we can get Gaby Daw back. Gaby is the advocacy officer for Caritas Jordan and has some to share with us, hoping we have audio from Gaby. We're still not hearing you. Your mic is muted. There we go.
Okay, now
Yes.
I think now I'm fine
Yes.
now. Huh?
Yes.
Okay, so I will thank you for this opportunity, allowing us to speak about our problem, you know, our circumstances, what we face in Jordan. And I will start in brief, and I will share my screen with the presentation we have. Well, we start with speaking about Caritas Jordan and how it receives and hosts many refugees from different nationalities in a very poor, let's say, water and natural resources in the country. We are trying our best to bring people together, Jordanians and others, and make them enjoy, let's say, or promote some kind of what we call it social cohesions between all of these nationalities in one place. And Caritas Jordan is trying its best to do that. Well, one of the problems we are facing in Jordan is the scarcity of water and other basic resources. Jordan is trying its best to address this problem, this serious problem, and you know, they are trying to do their best to bring other resources of water from different areas. Some of the reasons for this shortage is attributed to the big number of refugees in Jordan.
Gaby,
Yes, my dear.
We're not seeing your presentation. Have you shared your screen?
I think I did, yes.
Could you try that again, please? All right, now we're getting it.
Now, yes.
Yes, it's coming.
So you are seeing me now, huh? Okay.
There you are.
Okay, okay, good.
Click on slideshow maybe at the top, the very top slideshow, and then show your.
Yes, yes.
That's okay, just go with it.
Yeah, okay. So we were speaking about the water and some natural resources shortages in Jordan and how we deal with them as one of the acute problems. We are trying to do our best to bring knowledge and awareness to the people how to preserve water and help them, for example, benefit from what they use in their for other purposes. For example, if they want to irrigate their plants, they can use, for example, recycled water from the taps and put them in, in use for irrigation, because some of these people are depending on what they plant in their gardens as source of food security for them. Another things, we help them, for example, to dig reservoirs in their areas so as to collect water in the winter time and use them in times of summer and for other uses in their daily life, which is one of the good, things we have supported for the refugees in Jordan who live in the urban areas. Of course, Caritas is trying to benefit from the chances that the government of Jordan allowed them. There was the Jordan Compact, one of the agreements that was signed in 2016, allowing refugees, especially Syrians, to work in Jordan. And this was a good chance for them to mingle or to come together with Jordanians and work together in one place, allowing them to promote their resilience and at the same time build the social cohesions we all think about and encourage strongly. Now we are trying to put some, focus on what challenges we have in Caritas, and one of these things that still some people still think that refugees coming from other countries are still, posing some kind of threat to the livelihoods of Jordanians. So we do in our projects try to allocate a percentage for Jordanian, as well as to the Syrian refugees in particular, so as to demonstrate peace and coexistence, peaceful existence between all these people in Jordan. We have, as you know, more than one, nationality of refugees in Jordan. We have, according to UNHCR, we have more than 55 nationalities in Jordan. So all these people live in one place in a poor country, and they have to live in harmony and in peaceful, situation. So this is one of the challenges we do, and this is what we are trying to do by applying the do no harm strategy or principle to help promote this thing. We now try to bring, as we said, people from different denominations and nationalities together in order to build, let's say, the resilience. We are targeting all people. We take, let's say, into consideration gender, women, children, persons with disabilities, elderly in needs, and help them, survive under such difficult conditions. We do many things in the health, education, protection, and help build reliance, bringing people together, and in order to address the problems that coming, every now and then. Now we are thinking, since we are thinking of refugees integration, we are trying to advocate for having more than 1 year projects that can help Caritas Jordan and help refugees to invest or to have a better benefit from the services they receive, because some of these services do not have immediate or quick, for example, impact on their lives. So we need to have more than 1 year, for example, projects allowing these refugees to have better services and to live peacefully in the country. So that's why we are also reverting to referencing to the Nexus requirements as one of the approaches we are using that is about to move from or overlap from providing humanitarian assistance to people in need by giving them special, let's say, empowerment, training skills in order to move them from what they call them, dependent people to independent and to reach some kind of development outcomes, and finally to have peace between all people in Jordan. Of course, durable solutions is one of the things that we think that it is very helpful for everybody, and we're trying our best and advocate for durable solutions in order to have people live peacefully and in harmony after, they either to go back to their country, which is, now sometimes it's not that easy for them, and people who are resettled. We are thinking of the resettlement countries that Syrians in Jordan are still in big numbers. They don't go anywhere. They are not going back to their country. So, and Jordan is not in a country that is, signed and let's say Geneva Convention to give the refugees full, integration in the country. So we are seeking or asking resettlement countries, international community to look after the needs of Syrian refugees to be resettled in third countries. So these are things what we are doing, and hopefully everything will go, as planned and maybe more. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you so much, Gaby.
Thank you.
Especially for reminding us that peace building and service delivery to migrants includes more than just providing food and shelter, but
Yes.
also helping people adapt and rebuild their lives in peace and harmony. So thanks so much for that. Now we're going to go on a little trip to Caritas, South Sudan, where Gabriel Yai, who is the executive director, is going to tell us in about 5 minutes what Caritas is doing there for migrants. Gabriel, are you available?
Yes. Are you getting me?
We are not seeing you yet. You need to turn on your video.
Hello? Yes.
There you are. Thank you. Take it away.
Yes.
Please start.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present something about Caritas South Sudan activities in the previous years. I will share with you some few points about the lesson learned of Caritas South Sudan since 2012 up to this time. As you all know, we are just coming out from the old Sudan. Caritas, our South Sudan just separated from the old Sudan in 2011. And Caritas South Sudan was established immediately after the independence of South Sudan. And we have been really engaged in the emergency response because of the situation in the country, because after the independence of South Sudan, the expectation were that we are going for rehabilitation and reintegration and development. But what happened in 2013, there was a fighting which broke out among the different groups, the ruling party, and then Caritas South Sudan find itself doing emergency response. And as I just mentioned, I don't know why I am not able to share the screen here. I don't know. So I will just present my point. So from 2013 up to this time, as I mentioned, the main activities of Caritas South Sudan was just emergency after emergency. And thank the network of Caritas Internationalis, because really they have stood with the people of South Sudan from 2013 up to this time. I think we launched a number of emergency appeal across responding to different emergencies in the country. So these are the few lessons learned. What we discover as Caritas National Office, when there is an emergency in the country, the only place where people used to go and took refuge and get and seek for support is the church premises, especially the Catholic Church, which gave Caritas South Sudan to be in the forefront in terms of emergency response. And as I mentioned, we, in this long period of emergencies, we try to concentrate on a number of activities instead of doing many activities under emergency. One of the areas was shelter, food assistance, peace building, and livelihood. Another thing I can say as a lesson learned, people in the country, in South Sudan here, they view the church, especially the Catholic Church, as a neutral body. And that is why everything they are looking, when they are facing difficulties in their life, in their daily life, they come to the church, they come to the church leaders, they seek support, they seek kind of guidance. The church also finds itself near with the people, because when there is an emergency, when there is a fighting taking place somewhere, people come and shelter, and in the parish center, in the diocese, and then the clerics and the religious, they stay with the people. They don't run away, they don't go away, they stay with the people. At the same time, there is a need for Caritas to come in and help people who are in need.
Thank you, Gabriel. I'm sorry to cut you short, but we're just almost at the end of our time and we have one more speaker. Thanks so much for helping us understand how important the church is in this situation, and how Caritas is a part of that church. We hope and pray that you will come to the day when emergencies will end for you, so that you can continue the work of development and peace building and capacity building as you do your everyday Caritas work. Thank you so much, Gabriel.
Okay,
we're going to move on to our last speaker. Monsignor Pierre Cibambo is the head of the African section of General Secretariat of Caritas Internationalis, and the ecclesial assistants of the Caritas Confederation. He's trained in project management and conflict resolution, and he facilitated, we're having a thunderstorm here, facilitated the implementation and coordination of humanitarian and community development, justice and peace programs in Eastern DRC for many years, an active member of the Caritas Internationalis Working Group for Peace and Reconciliation. Monsignor, the floor is yours. You're still on mute, Monsignor?
Yes, thank you, Jen. I was saying that in this final remarks, I want to highlight the importance of Caritas peace building. And it is just to say that working for peace and reconciliation has been a priority for the Caritas Confederation for many years now. And this work has been undertaken by men and women of faith who, together with all people of goodwill, believe that peace building peaceful and reconciled communities is possible and must be pursued as a way to contribute to integral human development, giving a chance to all people to live a dignified life. But that peace is possible is easy to say, but by experience, we know that this cannot be taken for granted. For this reason, Caritas Peacebuilding has always sought to actively and creatively engage in any effort to first and foremost understand conflicts in their complexity in order to contribute to managing them and resolving them in an appropriate manner. So from the beginning of our Caritas work for peace and reconciliation in 1999, following a decision taken by the General Assembly, we agreed that it was a priority to develop our capacity for conflict analysis. The group put in place to work on that was composed of academics and practitioners, including Caritas staff, who have worked in different humanitarian situations, as well as community leaders from the 7 regions where Caritas member organizations operate as instrument of the church to contribute to building flourishing communities in response to the gospel call and guided by the Catholic social teaching. Both the gospel and the Catholic social teaching make evident the ethical and religious reasons for why we must respond to the needs of vulnerable people, especially the displaced and refugees, as pointed out by Professor David in his opening remarks. And the Caritas Working Group on Peace and Reconciliation has compiled important tools in a manual called Peacebuilding, a Caritas Training Manual, and provided trainings to Caritas agents in all regions to facilitate the analysis and understanding of conflicts through a holistic approach. We continue to use these tools, and today our analysis of existing and potential conflict situations has led us to realize that climate change, food insecurity, and access to land will be, among others, important drivers of large-scale displacement. And as stressed by our Secretary General Aloysius John, climate change exacerbates social vulnerability and in turn contributes to displacement. And we see a relationship between socioeconomically vulnerable population and displaced populations. Therefore, quoting the encyclical letter Laudato Si, he has attracted our attention to the fact that peace and harmony can be achieved only if there is an ecology of daily life, which in truth puts the human person and the environment at the center of all our activities, with a determined political will to promote integral human development in the spirit of integral ecology. So we have heard some testimonies from those on the front line showing how increasingly serious the conflict induced by climate change and displacement of populations could be. This is already a reality, and Catholic organizations working for peace and human rights protection have a crucial role to play in fostering a culture of peace through applying a holistic approach and promoting and supporting programs that are sensitive to peace building, whether addressing immediate needs in case of emergency or supporting the livelihood and the resilience of the communities they are called to serve, to accompany, and to defend. Indeed, for Caritas, peace building and social cohesion is a key cross-cutting component to be included in all our programs, especially those dedicated to displaced persons and hosting communities. This has been shown in the testimonies we have just heard, and we have seen it also in many other cases, like in Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Sahel region. So Caritas peace building and Caritas and social cohesion is a cross-cutting component, and this will continue to include in all our programs. I want to thank you all for your participation in this session, and may the Lord make us all instrument of his peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Monsignor Cibambo. And thank you all for participating with us. We hope that this has been informative and will help you keep in touch with Caritas as it does its peace building work around the world. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.